Just give everyone a moment to turn up. I have to say, Deanna, we had an incredible registration number. We had over 600 of
600
amazing,
people.
wonderful teachers of Ukraine joining us, hopefully today.
Yeah, that's true.
Fingers crossed they can all, as many of you guys can make it as possible. We're just going to wait 30 seconds or so just to allow everyone into the room. The numbers are going up very quickly, so we don't want to start before everybody is in the room. So just hold fire for now. But while we're waiting, let me know where you are in Ukraine. Where are you joining us from? I was just explaining to Deanna that I'm very lucky. I've been able to join you today from Venice. I'm on my travels once again. So instead of being stuck at home in the UK, I'm in Italy, enjoying Venice. So we got people from, my pronunciation will be awful here, right? Sani from Venezia, Lviv, Zaporizhia, Sumy, Poltava region. Hi, Natalia. Hi, Natalia joining us from Denmark. Ternopil, Lviv.
Kharkiv is here also, Odessa. Hello.
Yeah,
hello,
Odessa. Someone's joining from Lebanon. Hi.
France.
France. Okay, this is great. It's great to see that you're still connecting with us, even though you are not at home, that you're on the move because of the situation. Hi, Helen from Odessa. Alina from Kharkiv. Dnipro. Wonderful. Thank you all so much for joining us today.
Yeah, that's great that so many people are with us today. I think it's something like a miracle that our teachers are working no matter what happens. They're trying to educate kids, to help children forget about everything that is happening around. And I've been communicating with lots of teachers these days, and everyone says that the work really helps, and they are very happy that they can still teach everyone, and they can do their job. And I'm happy to say that National Geographic Learning supports teachers very much, those who have been using the books and those who haven't but want to try. So we really help to make those teaching a bit, and of course with a bit easier and more convenient.
Exactly,
I think
absolutely.
so. Hello to everyone who have joined. My name is Diana Galavani. I'm an LT consultant of National Geographic Learning in Ukraine, and I work for Linguist Company. Linguist is the official representative of National Geographic Learning in Ukraine. And if you would like to find out about the books, about the propositions that we have in Ukraine, here are some contact details. You can visit our site, linguist.ua. If you're looking for books, for one book, not for the class, you can also visit the internet shop. It's very quickly and easy to make the orders there. This is a new one. And of course, we have our site, National Geographic Learning in Ukraine, linguist.gel.com.ua. There you can find all the series that we have, all the propositions. You can read about them, find samples, read some useful information. I also would like to share that to share what you exactly can find on our site. Here is online studying, where we collected all materials that National Geographic Learning kindly sent us to share with teachers, no matter if you are working with the workbooks or no. There are some great materials for primary students, like videos and stories to read, useful worksheets for secondary and upper secondary school children. So please feel free to visit the site and to use those materials in your lesson. They really help to make lessons fresh and not forgettable for your students. now I would like to give the virtual floor to Alex Warren, the speaker with great experience, with lots of fresh and inspiring ideas. I know, Alex, I know after your sessions, I hear a lot from the teachers who are saying that that was great. They are starting to use your ideas right away. And sometimes they even write to me and ask, you know, how to, do you remember that activity? How did Alex do that? Can you explain? So it's really something valuable. And today Alex is going to share with us one of the best series for primary learners. And also, I guess we will find out how it can be used in both normal classroom and virtual classroom. So Alex, please, we are pleased to hear from you.
All right, thank you so much, Diana. And again, thank you to all of you for joining me this afternoon. And yeah, as Diana says, we're going to be looking at Look, one of our primary titles, and looking at how we can maximize the content there in online learning in the young learner classroom. As with all of my webinars, we'll be making this as interactive as possible. So you already know where the chat box is and you're already using it. So thank you so much for that. We'll be using it throughout the session. I should also say right at the beginning that I know certificates and recordings are important to you. So don't worry, these will be sent to you after the webinar in 24 hours time, in fact. So this time tomorrow, you will receive an automated email from Zoom, and that will have the certificate and the recording to the session. So if you can't stay for the whole of it, that's okay. You will be able to catch back and watch back as well. So what are we going to cover today? We're going to very quickly look at this idea of blended learning and digital technology and how, you know, within the blended environment, we need, or what kind of material we need to support us with that. And then we'll be looking specifically at the National Geographic online platform with Look and how we can use that to drive engagement, drive interactivity and learning in our classrooms, be that face-to-face or indeed online. So, blended learning. We need to consider what we actually mean by this, because when I say blended learning to one person, they answer one way. I ask that to someone else, they give me a different answer. So what this serves to show is that blended learning means different things to different people. And, you know, putting this webinar together, I asked the same question to different teachers, teacher trainers, authors, and each time it was a slightly different answer. No one gave me exactly the same response. But, you know, that's not overly surprising because, as Pete Sharma says in his book, Blended Learning, the term has been in use for almost 20 years and its meaning has been constantly changing throughout that period. That said, there are three common definitions which I think are most people would connect with blended learning. So these are the three options, or the four options that you have. So in the chat box, can you tell me whether you think blended learning is A, B, C, or D? Let me know. Thank you. Ala says D, Olena says B. And there's not necessarily a right answer here or a wrong answer. It's your own interpretation, your own understandings. Lots of B's, lots of D's. Thank you, Zoriana, Natalia, Svetlana, Tatiana. Ola, lots of B's and D's coming through. DDD, thank you, Maria, Anna, Tatiana. Okay, perfect. So I'm gonna say mainly B's, quite a few D's, and the odd A as well. So like I say, there's not necessarily a right answer or a wrong answer here, but for me personally, blended learning involves using different technologies, from the internet to learning management systems to interactive whiteboards, mobile devices, but importantly, both in the classroom and outside of the classroom. So technology is at the heart of it. But it's not just that idea of combination of technologies, it's also the fact that it's a combination of face-to-face and online teaching. And this is the definition which I think is probably most common. It's any time a student learns at least at part in a supervised brick and mortar location, in other words, the school or university, away from home, and at least in part through online delivery with some element of student control over time, place, path, and pace as well. So for me, it's mainly that idea of B. So we have two things we have to consider here. We have the element in the classroom and how we utilizing the technology within the classroom, but also how we are utilizing it outside of the classroom as well. Because what we really need to do that is a robust digital platform that allows us to do everything that we want to be able to do, to make learning as accessible, as easy, and as fun as possible for the students, but also making it as user-friendly as possible for your students. So here's another question for you. From your experiences teaching online over the last 2 or 3 years, what do teachers need from a digital platform to teach successfully in a blended environment, do you think? So there might be different aspects of a digital platform, but which ones do you think are the most important for you to teach successfully? Let me know in the chat box. So what facilitates a blended learning approach? Any thoughts, any ideas? Let me know. Okay, yeah, good visual and audio base, digital skills, just technology. Can you be more precise, Svetlana? Yes, technology, but what kind of technology do we need? Something that has a clear interface, engaging activities, skills to use platforms, authentic materials, definitely, Elena. Clear instructions. Okay, we need people's motivation, of course, Victoria, but we're not getting that from the digital platform itself. A good internet connection, of course. A variety of functions that are available and help overcome the lack of face-to-face communication. Good opportunity to get feedback. Okay, and a lot of this will come through the online platform that you're using to deliver your classes, so the video conferencing software. That might be Google Classroom. It might be Teams, it might be Zoom, it might be Facebook. There are lots of different platforms out there. And that is, of course, something which facilitates your overall digital platform through which you're presenting your digital content, right? So essentially for me, we're looking at 3 things here that we need to help us to be successful, whether it's online or face-to-face when it comes to digital. And these can be used, like I say, in the classroom or outside of the classroom as well, in an online environment. So the first one is, of course, a classroom presentation tool, an effective classroom presentation tool. Something which we can display our coursebook content on effectively, reliably, easily. The second one I think is important is a place where we can give online practice to our students. Because when we're teaching online, we can't just give them handouts. We can't give them PDFs to do because how are we going to mark them afterwards? So we need a system, a platform that provides opportunities to practice the language from the classes online. And then that should feed into a learner management system where we as teachers can see how our students are doing. In other words, where we can see the results of the practice that they are doing online. We can monitor their progress, their development, and if needs be, give them remedial work as well. So these, for me, are the 3 pillars of a robust online platform. And there are 3 things that are provided through Look, the the course that we're talking about today. But we're going to look at each one of these in detail and look how we can utilize them in the classroom, be that online or face-to-face. So a couple of years ago, right at the beginning of the pandemic, we did a survey with nearly 7,000 teachers from all around the world, from Latin America, Europe, Asia, Africa, and asked them this question: what is the most important type of learning materials that I need to be successful in my online, my blended, my hybrid classroom? And these are the results that we got back. So 43% wanted content that had interactive media, which were easy to find and to present with their lessons. 22% wanted additional games and activities that could be done online. 18% wanted the course book organized differently from the online course book, organized differently from the print workbook. And 17% wanted a presentation tool that displays the book in digital format. Basically, so I think those two are sort of similar, those 18 and 17. And essentially what we have here, therefore, is an effective classroom presentation tool. Because an effective classroom presentation tool does all of those things. It has all of the content that you need in one place, all of the media in one place, additional activities, additional content, so that essentially you can teach the coursework as you would do in a face-to-face classroom in an online environment, but with greater ease. So just another question for you then. Do you think classroom presentation tools have a positive impact on classroom learning and classroom teaching? Just a very simple yes or no in the chat box, if you have used them, I should say. So if you've used them, do they have a positive impact? Okay, good, lots of yeses, thank you. Svetlana, Hannah, Elena, Natalia, good. We're all in agreement. Of course, they have a positive impact. But what are those positive impacts? What are the advantages of teaching face-to-face and online with the classroom presentation tool? What do they add to your teaching? What do they add to your classroom, to your lessons? Again, let me know in the chat box. What are the advantages of them? So we all agree that they're a good thing. They enhance learning, but why? What is it about them that make them so effective? Okay, yeah, good, absolutely. Quick feedback, definitely. Visual contact, emotional interactions, visual contact to an extent. Okay, increases motivation, increases interaction. Thank you, Svetlana's. There's more practice, for sure. Okay, so there's lots of reasons why. I'm just going to go through my list very quickly. I've got 8 items. I think, first of all, it offers a familiar structure. I think when we teach online, I think the initial concern was that how is it going to be different to the coursebook? Or how am I going to teach the coursebook online? And maybe I can't teach the coursebook online. How am I going to present the content and material? So having a classroom presentation tool allows us to essentially retain elements of what we or how we teach in the face-to-face classroom, that familiar structure. All of the media is embedded, all of the songs, all of the audio, all of the video. It's all in one place. We don't have to go looking for it. We don't need to line up other files. It's just there at a click of a button. So it makes your life as a teacher much, much easier. There is less stress involved for you. Someone said about feedback. Yeah, absolutely. Answers are a click away. You just click on the button, that's the answer. You can check answers quickly. A lot of the time there's extra content through the workbook. You don't need to go and photocopy extra pages from a workbook. Not that you should be doing that anyway. But you just flip from the student's book to the workbook very, very quickly. So if you need extra practice, it's at the touch of a button. there might even be additional content. So with all the National Geographic Learning titles, there is always additional games, additional activities within the platform. There's interactive tools which you can do funky things with, and we'll look at some examples later on. For me, this is a really important one. It's all about heads-up learning. And this is really appropriate in the face-to-face classroom when you're using a classroom presentation tool. Because let's imagine your class, they're doing an activity from the book, and they're all like this. Heads down learning. They're not looking what's going on around the classroom. But when you've got a classroom presentation tool, it's up at the front of the board. Everyone is heads up. They're all looking in the same direction. So it facilitates a more interactive, a more adhesive whole to the class. And all of that creates increased engagement in the lesson, in the content that you're producing or that you're presenting. And that facilitates teaching. It facilitates the learning process as well. So lots and lots of good reasons why we should be using these. But it would be remiss of us if we didn't think about any disadvantages. Can you think of any disadvantages of using a classroom presentation tool with your students, with your lessons? Are there any? So let me know in the chat box, yes or no. And if you answer yes, what are they? So what could those disadvantages be? So Alona said yes, but what might that be? And I agree, there are disadvantages because it's technology. It can be time consuming. Good, Svetlana. Any other reasons why the classroom presentation tool? Difficult to prepare, might be time consuming, but I think the point of them is they're meant to be not to be time consuming. Let's open it up, off we go. I think for me, the main disadvantage is that it's technology. It may not work 100% of the time. You never know, especially when the internet is involved. But also, I think because they're so good, it can make the teacher over-reliant on them. In other words, they teach the book for the teacher rather than the teacher teaching the book. So we need to be careful as teachers that we don't become over-reliant on the content that is within the classroom presentation tool, because that may not help our teaching. So we need to become more advanced users or aware of how we can use them effectively. And as Pete Sharma says, it's not what it is, it's what you do with it. So it's not the interactive whiteboard per se, which can improve the learning experience, but how it is used. And that's what we're going to explore going forwards. How can we use the classroom presentation tool beyond just what's in it? And for that, we're going to refer to an infographic or a model called the Samir model for integration of technology in the classroom. And it was created by someone called Rubens Fuenteduras. And this is what it looks like. Essentially, there's 4 levels to this model. 2 models are within the enhancement stage, and 2 levels are within the transformation stage. So you've got the first letter there on each level. So the S is for substitution, where technology acts as a direct substitute for, with no functional change to what was being used beforehand. In other words, the print course book. So basically, it's a print course book on the screen. So we might think, okay, that's fine, but with no functional change, what's the point? Which leads us on to the A. Now, if S means substitution, what do you think A might mean? Let me know in the chat. S is substitution, what might A mean? Any guesses? Alteration, yeah, that'll do, Tatiana, you're close enough there. Augmentation. So where the technology acts as a direct substitute, but there is functional improvement. And certainly classroom presentation tools definitely do that, because we have additional tools. We can zoom in, we can annotate, we can do different things with it. It becomes more interactive. So definitely they augment the process. They're enhancing it that way. But what about the M? So we go from substitution to augmentation to M. Any guesses on what M might mean? Not motivation. Hi, Zanetta. Or Janetta. Any other guesses for M? Not motivation. Think about the technology here. So substitution to augmentation to, very good, Tatiana. It is modification. So whereby the technology allows for significant task redesign. In other words, we're doing things that we couldn't necessarily do beforehand if it was just, in this case, the print workbook. Or student's book, rather. Which leads us to R at the top level. So if M is modification, what might R be? Any suggestions? Good guess, Tatiana, with reliability, but not reliability. Any other thoughts? Rethink. Do you know, I quite like that idea of rethinking, Tatiana. Redefinition, whereby the technology allows us to create completely new activities that we could not have done beforehand using just the print book. So for me, you know, where does a classroom presentation tool fall within this? I mean, it definitely augments, it definitely modifies, and depending on how we use it, we can actually create things or activities that we couldn't necessarily do beforehand. But you know what? Technology we need to be careful with technology, right? Technology should the learning experience, but not the learning experience. Any guesses what the missing words might be here? Keeping you focused, keeping you engaged. Any guesses? Technology should, I'm going to help you. Enrich the learning experience. Very good, Svetlana, but not, or promote is a good word as well. Complement, substitute, good, but not take over. So, how can we utilize the power of a classroom presentation tool to enrich, to enhance learning and maximize engagement in our learning or in our online environment, or indeed our face-to-face environment? Well, there are many ways in which we can do that. So I just want to first start off by looking at the basic functionality of the classroom presentation tool that comes with all National Geographic Learning titles, including with Look. And this is what it looks like. So the first thing I want to point out is the toolbar over on the right-hand side. Okay, so we've got a toolbar and we have the zoom. So straight away, we can use this to help students to focus on what we want them to focus on. So we want them to focus on the reading. We can zoom right in to the reading. They know what they're doing. It's heads-up learning. We're all looking at it together. Maybe I want to look at the questions in exercise 3. I can zoom in on those as well if I wanted to. So it helps with instruction giving. Because how many times have we said to students, okay, I want you to look at exercise 3, and they start looking at exercise 4 or exercise 2 or whatever it might be, because they haven't been listening carefully. If we can give them a visual representation of what they should be doing by zooming into the activity, then you're keeping everybody focused, you're keeping them engaged and on target. So that's a sort of a big benefit of the Zoom tool there. But we've also got the other tools as well available to you using the online platform. We've got pen tools, we've got highlighter tools, which we can use for underlining key vocabulary. Highlighting, in this case, I highlighted all the past tenses within the article. I think all the red words underlined is the lexical cohesion. So you can't do this with a print workbook. You just can't do it. So having it on the board makes it really interactive. Even you can get students coming up to the board and doing this for you. Come up to the board and underline all the prepositions or highlight all of the words connected to music and dance, or underline all of the present tenses, whatever it might be. And even in an online environment, you can do that. If you're teaching through Zoom especially, you can get them to annotate your screen for you. And again, checking answers. It might be just a case of I can cross out the wrong answers on the board. It makes it really, really clear for students. Now, for exercise 3, I've checked the answers that way, but I could have checked the answers using the interactive version of the activity. So all of these activities on the classroom presentation tool for Look come with interactive versions. So I click on the 3 dots and I get essentially a drop-down menu activity here. And I can then check all the answers very, very quickly. I can see they're all right, perfect. So students are very clear about what's right and what is wrong. What's also really good about the classroom presentation tool is that all of the readings, all of the audio is all embedded, it's right there. So if you wanted to listen and read, you can listen and read. It's there at the same time. Maybe my students need more practice, even once I finish the activity. That's okay. I can go to the workbook like that in an instant. Click on WB, I go to the corresponding workbook pages. And then to go back, I click on SB in the top corner here, and I'm back to book. So even just the basic functionality of a classroom presentation tool is going to enhance the learning experience for your learners. But if we're a little bit creative, there are other things that we can do as well using the tools within the platform, but also the tools that we're using, which are available through the video conferencing platform that we're using, which I think for most of you will be Zoom. So here's a fun little activity you can do. At the beginning of a lesson, the middle of a lesson, there's a stirrer, up to you. And it's very, very simple. It's just a memory game. You know, look at the photograph, try to remember as much as you possibly can. You give them 10 seconds, 20 seconds, look carefully. I'm going to zoom in for you guys, just to help you a little bit. Look carefully. Remember what you can, and zoom out. And now I'm just going to hide it from you. It's gone. How much can you remember about the photograph? Write as many words as you can. In this case, in the chat box. And I can also bring up a little timer as well. So in the chat box, tell me what you can remember about the photograph. And try to write phrases and not just individual words. How much can you remember? Were you paying attention? What can you remember about that photo? Let me know in the chat box. Okay, 3 girls. Thank you, Deanna. 3 girls buying sweets. Good. A boy, stools. Girls smiling, boys sitting. Good. Thank you, Svetlana. Think about maybe where you thought it was. Shopping windows, lamps. Okay, so lamps is good, Svetlana. But what kind of lamps were they? How would you describe them? Chinese lamps or lanterns, selling sweets, girls in bright dresses. Good. We say girls, but give us more information about them. Potato, cabbage, girls, children's sweets, polka dot dress. There we go. I like that. Polka dotted skirt. Chinese lamps on the ceiling, delicious food. Thank you, Anna. So we get a little bit more information. So with this kind of activity, I would always, depending on the level, get them to give more than information. So someone's written there a purse. What color purse was it? Was it a big purse, small purse? The boy is scratching his head. Thank you, Hannah. I love that. So red purse. Okay, you get the idea. So don't just get them to write individual words. Try to get them to think more deeply or look more closely at the picture. So we might say a floral dress or a green floral dress. Lots of Chinese or red Chinese lanterns. I mean, there's all sorts going on there, right? Who knows what all the food is? But you get the idea. And that works really well with obviously pictures that have lots going on within them. Now, if you want to do a follow-up activity to that, you could just get them to label the photograph. So this works equally well online or face-to-face. So if I was in the face-to-face classroom, I would invite my students up to the board and I'd ask them to write all over my board, labeling as many things as they could. And quite frankly, students love doing this because they're essentially writing all over the teacher's book or the teacher's digital book on the board. But it gives a really good visual representation of what they know and what they don't know. And it works well online as well. So if you're using Zoom, students can type on the screen using the annotation tools, saying what all the different things are. For example, like this. And again, as a teacher, I can then take a screenshot of that from teaching online, and I can save that and I can send it to my students afterwards as a really good, clear written record. But all of these activities are keeping students involved actively. And not just one or two students, but everybody. They all have the opportunity to come to the front of the board and write it, or indeed online to add anything to it as well. Okay. Another activity you can do is called Interview the Picture. So this is using all the great images that we found in Look. And again, if I was in the face-to-face classroom, I'd invite my students to come to the front of the class and I'd ask them to write their questions on the board. For example, do you like your job? If I'm online, I would get them to write the questions either in the chat box, or if I'm using Zoom, I'd get them to write them on the screen using the annotation tools. These kind of questions might come up. Now, I appreciate because we're in Zoom webinar, we don't have access to annotation tools. So for this activity, I want you to do this in the chat box. So we have this guy here. What questions would you like to ask him? I want you to interview this photo. What would you like to ask him, or indeed the other people in the photo? In this case. Let me know in the chat box. What would you ask him? And like I say, in class, I would invite them up to the front of the class and they would write them in the spaces on the side. Yeah, is it your favorite job? Who inspired you to do this? Do you get paid for doing what you're doing? Thank you, Hannah and Svetlana. Where are you from? These are all very sensible questions. My first question would be, how many times have you fallen off? There we go. Thank you, Oksana, I think. How often did you fall down? Exactly that. What's the worst accident you've had? How many times have you broken your arm or your leg doing this? How high can you go? How long can you do this? How many performances? Okay. And the questions keep coming and coming and coming. And we can then use those questions as a basis for classroom discussion, again, involving the students. I think, regardless of whether we're teaching online or face-to-face, when we're planning our lessons, we need to think really carefully that. How often can I get my students involved actively in the class rather than just listening passively to the teacher? And even, I'm teaching to you today through Zoom webinar, so we don't have all those avenues for interaction. You can't unmute yourself and talk, you can't draw on my screen, but we're using the chat box. And hopefully you're feeling thoroughly engaged and interactive throughout the session. And that's essentially what you're aiming for with your students. Lots of good questions there. Aren't you afraid? Yeah. Can you see the advantages? Good. Oh, that's a very professional question. Can you see the advantages and disadvantages of your job? Thank you, Elena. Okay. Next activity is disappearing drill number 1. So this works really well because with other Young Learner titles, Our World, for example, you can use the annotation tools and the vocabulary, because the vocabulary is presented in very visual format, essentially in mini flashcards. So I would use for this the annotation tools, which are available to me in the platform. And I'd slowly delete the different words. So for example, let's get my spotlight on. I'd sort of point at this word and students would say milkshake, noodles, pancakes, pasta, salad, sandwiches, sauce, soup, vegetables, pancakes, sandwiches, soup, noodles, and so on. And then one by one, I hide the words. So then go back, okay, pancakes, vegetables. What was this one? Salad, noodles, sauce, milkshake, ketchup, until they're all gone and they're just remembering, well, they're remembering what the words are. So again, milkshake, sauce, soup, vegetables, and so on. Now, with that disappearing drill, it's just the word that we're taking away. So they still have the image, which makes it a little bit easier for your learners. But that's okay, we can make it more difficult as well. Because using Zoom, we can zoom in to our page and we can use the Zoom tools to cover the images like that. So I'm going to see how good all of you are, okay? Now, I appreciate I can't hear you, but I'm going to point at some different words and I want you to shout out to your screen. You won't look silly, I promise, what I am pointing at, okay? So, eat outside, go canoeing, go on a roller coaster, have a picnic, lose your way, make friends, ride on a motorbike, see a shooting star, sleep in a tent, swim in a lake, go on a roller coaster, make friends, see a shooting star, go canoeing, have a picnic, lose your way, swim in a lake, see a shooting star. What was this one again? Tell me in the chat box. Shout it out. What was it? Can you remember? Can anyone remember? Yeah, good, thank you. Go canoeing. Okay, let's make it a little bit harder. So go canoeing, have a picnic, make friends, swim in a lake, lose your way, have a picnic, go on a roller coaster, ride on a bike. What was this one again? You can remember what this one was? Very good, Natalia. Swim in a lake, have a picnic, lose your way, make friends, ride on a motorbike, see a shooting star, sleep in a tent, have a picnic, go on a roller coaster, eat outside. What was this one again? What was this one here? I'm pointing at. Go canoeing. Thank you, Tatiana. You remembered well. Have a picnic, lose your way. We keep going around. I'll take another way. What was this one again? What have I just removed? I'm keeping an eye on the chat. You're doing well. This one was have a picnic. Good. Lose your way. Eat outside. Ride on a motorbike. See a shooting star. Sleep in a tent. Lose your way. Go on a roller coaster. Eat outside. This one. What was this one? This middle one at the bottom. Can you remember? Very good. See a shooting star. Go on a roller coaster. Lose your way. What was this one down here on the bottom right? Can you remember? Bottom right. Swim in lake. Very good, Victoria. What was this one over here? On the bottom left. Make friends. Good. Okay. You get the idea. And you can continue doing that till they're all vanished. And it's just a really nice, simple activity that you can do. You couldn't do that in the classroom with just the course book, but we can do it using the online platform. And if I was in the face-to-face classroom, I would just use a piece of paper to cover those words up, or those pictures up. And it's fun, it's a challenge, students enjoy it, and it's much better than just doing a very boring drill activity, because we're upping the level of difficulty for them. Okay, another activity we can do is called Mind the Gap. And again, this is using the annotation tools to delete or hide words. So essentially what we're doing here is we're making our own instant gap fill activity, or open close. So using the pen tools, I kind of blank out all of the missing words. And you might do this, you can do it in two different ways. You can do it after they've read it, see if they can remember, or you could do it before they have read it, see if they can guess what the missing word might be. There's kind of like a challenge there. So let's see how good you are. And you'll see a pattern in terms of partnerships here. Fresh food is healthier than food. Any guesses what that missing word might be? Okay, junk food, says Victoria. Good guess. Fast food, maybe. One of the two, right? But it's often more in some towns and cities. It's often more what? It's often more expensive. Yeah, it could be expensive. More popular. Good. Thank you, Hannah and Tatiana. People are learning to grow their own fruit and in community gardens. Their own fruit and vegetables. Yes, good collocation, fruit and vegetables. Okay. Let's move on. Marjorie often goes with her. 10 families work together in the garden. First, they seeds and they the plants. So two here, they the seeds and they the plants. What do they do? They sow the seeds. Yeah, that makes sense. And they, or maybe they plant seeds, and they the plants, grow the plants, maybe. We'll see the answers in a moment. The last one, the children love working outside and watching the vegetables. Watching the vegetables do what? Grow. Okay. Perfect. We'll see the answers in a moment. So you could do it that way. You could then do it as a listening comprehension activity. Because remember, with the classroom presentation tool with Look, everything is recorded. So all of the text has audio to go with it. So you can just make your own listening activity by doing it this way. So we open it up, we play it, we listen to it, and then we see the answer. So yeah, junk food was the correct answer, well done. You got that. Expensive, I think most of you got that one. Vegetables, everyone got. You plant the seeds, but sow seeds was good, and they water the plants. And then they grow, yeah, the vegetables grow. So well done. Good job. You feel focused and engaged, right? And it's just such an easy thing to do. Think about what tools you have available and how you might utilize them. Another activity I like doing online face-to-face is a treasure hunt. So we zoom into the text. Now, if I was in class face-to-face, I would have two teams in front of the board and one team on the left, let's go that way, one team on the right, like that, one on each side. And the person at the front of the line of each team would have a pen, and I call out a word, and they have to find that word as quickly as they can and highlight it or underline it. So if I said the word drive, they'd find drive, they'd underline it. If I said the word Pacific, they'd underline it, and so on. So it works nicely face-to-face, but also online, because online you have your annotation tools in Zoom, and everybody can underline or highlight the words that you're calling out. And of course, this is a really simple activity to practice scan reading. Now, we can't do it that way today because you don't have annotation tools available to you in Zoom webinar, but that doesn't mean we can't do the activity. So let's see how good you are at scanning. I'm going to call out a word, and I want you to find that word in the text. And I don't want you to tell me what line it's in. I just want you to tell me what word comes directly before it. So if I said the word pearls, you say how. Looking at the title, how pearls are made, right? So let's go. So your first word to find and tell me what comes before it is jewels. Jewels. J-E-W-E-L-S, jewels. Very good, but only, well, you could have had, I believe, I actually had something different. I had beautiful jewels at the bottom, but that's fine. Only is also possible going, it's nearer the top, right? Okay, the next word is, I think I just revealed it there, was animal. Animal, and there are two answers for this one as well. Animal. Yeah, good living animal and sea animals, good. The next one is peace. Peace. P-I-E-C-E, peace. What comes directly before peace? Yeah, good, Hannah. It's a small piece. Small piece. And the last one we'll do is travel. Travel. Not sea travel. Yeah, good luck, Sana. Well done. You found it first. It was people travel all around the world. So we can still do it that way. It's less fun because you're not drawing all over my page, but it's okay. Okay, moving on quickly because time is running out. So within Look, we have some really nice video lessons as well. And there's things that we can do with this, both face-to-face and online. So my first activity is just it's called freeze frame. And it's really simple. I'm playing the video and I just pause it. And I say to my students, what just happened? What do you think might happen next? And, or even just what are they doing at this exact time in the video? What are they doing? Can anyone tell me, just looking at the picture, what are they doing in this very odd picture? They're breaking something, right? They're maybe hammering something, who knows? And we can watch on and we can sort of find out more information. Another freeze frame here for you. Look at the smaller picture if you can. I apologize for it being small, but I wanted to challenge you. Let me zoom in. So for this one, I might say, how many lions can you see? So maybe I'm doing some revision of practice. How many lions can you see? Yeah, 4 lions, very good. But I might then say, how many tails can you see? How many tails can you see? Yeah, I can see 2 tails. And so, I mean, you could go on to do other kind of number type activities as well, depending on the picture you have available to you. So you can watch video, just freeze frame, off you go. 1, 2, 3, 4. The 4 ones there. And the 2 ones with tails were this one and that. So we can see. Okay. So lots of different things that we can do with the classroom presentation tool. And for sure, when we're teaching online, when we're teaching face-to-face, this is, I think, the thing that we probably most rely on, that we most need in the classroom, because it facilitates our teaching. But teaching online, teaching in a blended environment, isn't just about having a digital version of the book in the form of a classroom presentation tool. The online platform as a whole needs to do more than that. It needs to give students the opportunity to practice outside the classroom and to enable students or teachers to track student progress, like we said at the beginning. So a robust online platform needs to have a great classroom presentation tool. We've seen that, but it also needs that online practice for students and the online learner management system so we can track progress. And this is something that we have with Look. We also have it with Our World as well. So we can set students homework to do, or if they want to, they can do it in class. And this practice, it takes on its games and activities essentially, because we want students to be focused, to be engaged. So with Look, there are actually around 250 different activities per level. And those activities are split into about 25 different types of activity or game. So it's a case of, we've done whatever we've done in class, at home, for homework, in your own time, I want you to do these online activities by yourself. Now, the beauty of this is that it is all automatically marked by the platform. The teacher doesn't need to do anything apart from set the homework, set the assignment. It'll then appear in the student's platform, in the student's view, and they do the activities that you set them. Now, what's additionally good about this platform is that it works on your computer, but it is also mobile responsive. Okay, it works on phones, it works on tablets. But even better than that, even better, there is even an app that you can download, the students can download, and they have it on their app. So they can access it 2 ways, through the internet or through an app. All it requires from you, the teacher, is to set up the homework and send it to your class. And what I should say as well is that this content is different to the workbook content that you might have in the print copy of the book, okay? There's extra on top of that. And what's particularly nice about it, you can see in this bottom one down here, there is lots of, when they get all the questions right, they get like a big fireworks and claps and cheering going on as well. I'm just going to come here. And just to show you from the teacher's view how you do that, in the teacher's platform, we choose the unit that we want, and then we can choose the activities that we want. You can see here for this particular unit from Look 4, there's all of those different activities and games that I can set my students to do. I just click on the ones I want, and then we set the homework. And here are some examples of what those might look like. So matching activities, different types. There's listening, there's reading, there's grammar, there's vocabulary. Basically anything that's in the book is matched in the online platform as well. So here, there's drop-down menu tasks, multiple choice, different games, like a hangman type football game, and so on. So the point being here is we want to ensure that learning continues outside of the classroom as well as in the classroom. But where does all this information end up? So we've given the homework to the students. I want to see how they've done. Well, that's where the learning management system comes into play. So once you've got your class set up, you will have a list of all of your students and you can see how they are doing in their progress. I'll go into that in a bit more detail shortly. But with the system, it's mobile responsive. Teacher resources, class management, progress reports, assignment creation, messaging. So lots of things that you can do for your students. In terms of what it looks like when you get their results, you can see here, the class is set up. You can see how much they have completed of the course. You can see their average score. You can also see how long they have been logged in for, how much time they've been spending on the platform. So it gives a nice overview there. But if you want to micromanage it a bit more, you can click on individual students and you can see a very clear breakdown of exactly how they've done on every activity. So anything that is green is 80%, 70% and more. Anything that is orange is between 51 and 70%. Anything that is red is below 50%. So you get a very good idea of how your students are doing. The last thing to mention about the platform, and this one's from a student perspective, as well as getting the online practice, students also have an ebook as well. So they get, yes, your teacher, yes, Deanna, the teacher can download those results, I should say. So you can print them off as a report. Okay, that is absolutely possible. What I want to say really quickly was, yeah, there is, on the students platform, let's go back. So this is what the students platform looks like. You've got the home page, you can see all the different units, you get the different activities, so you can see how well you've done. You also get what we call the awards, the progress section. So each of these images, the more you do, the more the images get revealed. And parents can also see how students are doing. There's a parents view. So if we look in the top right corner there, we've got parents up there. We can do parents view. We click on that and the parents get to see what the student, or same as the teacher, they can see how their children are doing. And then the last thing very quickly is the student's ebook. So as well as a print book, if they want it, they have that, but they also have the ebook which they can work with, which looks just like the classroom presentation tool, but it just doesn't give them the answers. It's not a self-study tool, it's something they do in class. You've got all those tools so they can annotate the answers, annotate the pictures as they like. Anything they do in the interactive activities gets saved. So it's essentially just like the print book, where you write in your print book, you write all the answers in, you do the same in the online environment as well. Okay, time is up. Hopefully I've given you a really nice overview of the online platform that we have for Look, but also for Our World, and how it can support student engagement and student learning. So just to finish up, yeah, we can enhance that learning and engagement by using platforms to facilitate learning in online and face-to-face environments, to develop interactive, engaging activities to involve all learners, but also to connect with students both inside and outside the classroom. So giving them homework, using them for messaging as well. And then finally, to monitor progress and development. So I was going to finish with a quote from Pete Sharma again. The way we use technology for teaching and learning can have a significant impact on the way that learners work and learn. And given the current day and age, this is only going to be more apparent. We need to use the technology that we have available to us in a wise way. We don't want to overuse it, but we need to use it to facilitate learning as much as we can do. So take some time to reflect, if you have some time this evening. What ideas, what activities will you try to maximize learning opportunities in your face-to-face, your online, or blended your hybrid classroom with Look. So just some sort of additional information for you. So if you want more information about Look, you can go to eltngl.com/Look, where you can download sample units from each of the levels. There are 7 levels from starter to level 6. And that goes from pre-A1 to B1 level. So that's where you can find out specific information about Look. But I also wanted to raise your awareness that National Geographic Learning and Linguist in particular are doing lots and lots to help to support teachers in the ongoing crisis. So you can head to the Linguist website where you can download various materials. In answer to the question in the chat box, yes, the certificate will be mailed out with the recording tomorrow, this time tomorrow, okay? So you've got the Linguist website there for more content. If you want to contact Deanna and the team at Linguist directly, this is their phone number, the website, but also the Facebook as well. And then lastly, I just want to draw your attention to something that we have been doing here at National Geographic Learning. We have put together a website called Teaching Through Crisis. And there's sort of 2 elements to this. There is the teacher professional development side of it, where we have experts talking about how to teach in crisis, particularly, teaching students through trauma or traumatic experiences, but also sort of teaching in a refugee status as well. So that's one part of it. There is also the lessons on the move section, which is more student focused, but you can use them in class as well. But these are short 10, 15-minute lessons that have been put together by teacher trainers like myself at National Geographic Learning, but also many of our authors as well. This is a completely free resource for you, okay? And we would love for you to be using it as much as possible. With the lessons, they are constantly being updated, okay? It's a process for us to put them up there, but we're trying to get up for 3 or 4 lessons every single week that can be used with primary or indeed sort of lower secondary as well. And then finally, for all things National Geographic, please feel free to head to our webinar website or our InFocus website as well, where you can find out more about all things National Geographic Learning. Okay, time is up. Thank you so much for your patience. We had a lot to get through today. You've done really well, so it's very much appreciated. If there are any questions, please feel free to pop them in the chat box. I'll do my best to answer them. And again, just to reiterate, the recording and the certificate for the sessions will be sent out in 24 hours time. It will be an automated Zoom email, okay? So the same one you got, or similar to the one you received when you registered.
Thank you, Alex, very much. That was a great session. It was interesting to listen about all those possibilities that digital tools give us as teachers. And for me, it was also very useful to see what students can see from their perspective. So how can they use this book online, what activities they can do for their homework. And I like this very much. Thank you for all useful ideas. And I wish you to come back to us with more ideas, with more interesting things. And really appreciate everything that you've done for us. Thank you.
That's our pleasure, Deanna. And I mean, you guys are the amazing ones, quite frankly, that you're still showing the passion, you're still doing what you love, looking after the children that you teach. I cannot praise you enough, and my heart goes out to all of you. Stay safe, stay well, and we have to hope for the best. So take care, stay safe, and I will see you all very soon, I hope, okay? Take care, everybody.
Video.
Bye
Yeah,
bye.
thank you. Bye. Bye, everyone.